One of the important things is when we look at these things like Google aggregating information about like how many people are going to retail stores, how many people are out and traveling. Um, Google's got this information. They're showing us this information, as you said, in a pseudo anonymous way. But what information are they not showing us? What information do they have? How do they gather it? How do they collect it? Um, Google is not, in a meaningful way, a cellular services provider, right? So there's two ways that location information is tracked broadly historically from mobile devices. And now there's a third, which is code tracking applications that sort of piggybacks on a previous one earlier. But we talked earlier about this fabric, all these people you got to trust as your communications cross the internet. The internet is a physical object, right? A lot of people, when they're using like, Wi-Fi or cellular, it's hard to visualize that, to recognize that. You just type in Instagram or whatever, you flick your little finger, and more pictures come up in magic. But think for a minute how that happens. Let's make it simple. Take the internet part of the equation out. When you dial somebody's phone number, wherever they are in the world, or somebody dials your phone number, your phone rings instantly. How? How does that happen? What is required by the architecture as it exists today? And who's activating it? Who made your phone ring, right? Well, the cellular phones are based on security standards, unfortunately, engineering designs and protocols that were structured in like the 1970s. I mean, they really haven't changed that much. We have new levels of like call encryption. We have new signaling standards to sort of signal things more quickly, send data more quickly, route calls more efficiently. You've of course heard of 2G, 3G, 4G, LTE, 5G, all these things. But the raw bare network, how it's connected, right? The different signaling standards that we're talking about are riding on top of this large global shared network. And many different providers in many different countries operating under many different systems of laws all have to share and interoperate with. And so this is why they have these old janky shared standards. Your phone in your pocket, in your hand, on the table, like even if you're not using, the screen is off, but it's turned on, it's charged, is right now screaming out in the air, here I am, here I am. And it's going out to the cell phone tower. And cell phone towers are taking notes. They're going, is there anybody who's on this, basically spectrum that's asking for an association, which is the reason that your phone is shouting this stuff out. It's asking for a cell phone tower to pair with it and go, which cell phone tower do I hear the most loudly? And that's sort of a proxy for closeness, for proximity. If they're all using relatively the same levels of power, the one that your phone hears the loudest probably has the highest power. You probably have the best signal to it, and vice versa. Right? You create these pairwise connections, your phone to the nearest cell phone tower. Now, that cell phone tower has a fiber connection, a buried physical glass wire connection. Or it's using like a microwave connection to another building that does have a fiber connection that's buried under the ground and goes to a data center, right? That's operated by the telecommunications provider, or they're renting space in another data center. And what they're saying is, I've got these handsets, phone handsets, with these unique identifiers, your IMEI and your IMSI, these mobile identifiers we talked about before, they're baked into your phone. One of them, the IMEI, you can't change, not ever, right? The IMSI you can change by putting a different SIM card in there, but it doesn't matter because both of these are getting reported to the network. You might think you're being, cute by changing one SIM card to another. You get a different number on your phone. Well, that's not fooling the phone network. You might fool your ex or something like that, but you're not fooling the actual network. And this is happening at every cell phone tower that you pass. You're disassociating from one and you're reassociating with the next. The person that you're trying to call on the other side of the planet is doing the same thing. Now, when you take those location registries for all of these phone companies that are basically sharing access to them and providing lookups for each other to go what phone is at what location, is how your phone rings. What this means is that the phone network knows the location of every handset in the world that's within earshot of these cell phone towers at all times. Now ask yourself, the fact that you were registered or you were associated, you were paired with this cell phone tower at this time, is that getting deleted when you leave that cell phone tower? No. Should it be? Yes. Is it? No. And this is how they create that permanent record of all of our human motions, not for us individually, but humanity at scale. Now, this is the phone companies, right? And they can sell that information, they can share that information, they can rent that information. There's been all kinds of abuse. If you want to learn more about this, look up cell site location information, CSLI, cell site location information. If you have location services enabled on your phone, right, your phone is also getting a GPS signal. It's important to understand, if you turn off location services on your phone, it does absolutely nothing to hide you from the phone network that we just described. That works on whether your cellular radio is turned on. If you're getting a signal, if you're able to connect, if you're able to call people, if you're able to text, if you're able to connect to the internet, location services on or off, your location is known. But that's not necessarily going to Google unless they have a partnership, and in many cases they do. For Google, right, well, they get the GPS connection. They see your phone found this GPS satellite, you're at this location. They can ask your phone, what cell phone towers are you near? And your phone will very helpfully say, I'm near this cell phone tower. And every cell phone tower in the world is geolocated, right? Because the cell phone towers are, people, someone installed that. And they say, it's at this point, it's at this location, we'll have to service it later. So there's a global database of the world's Wi-Fi access points. Google helped pad that one out, by the way. Remember those Google Street View cards? They were mapping everywhere these Wi-Fi points at the same time they went around. They got in trouble for that at some point. Just like cell phone towers are geolocated, Wi-Fi locations are also being geolocated. It's not always perfect. It's not always up to date. But remember, if you've got location services turned on your phone, if you've got GPS enabled on your phone, or you don't, but your neighbor does, they can hear your Wi-Fi signal through the wall. Even if they can't connect to it, they hear it's there, right? They also, hear the Starbucks next door. They also hear your other neighbor over there. And if Google or whoever is filling out these databases, because lots of the different people are doing it, know, well, Granny's Wi-Fi access point is at exactly this location, because Granny always leaves her GPS on. She just wants to go down the street, get directions accurately. And Granny, her phone can always hear these other Wi-Fi access points. Well, we know those are near her apartment. And 5 doors down, there's your cousin or whoever, and they do the same thing. And the cousin can hear half of the ones that Granny can hear from their phone. But they've got another half that Grannies can't hear, right? Well, they know the half that both of them can hear are probably in between them. So this is used even for people who don't opt into this, even for people who don't want to be a part of this. Your location is almost always inferenceable if it is not concretely known by the network or by the services that you're interacting with. You can turn off location services and not provide this granular information, right? You can, what you're doing when you turn off location services is you're trying to deny to apps that cell site information. You're trying to deny to apps that GPS information. You're trying to deny to apps that Wi-Fi information. But remember that the cellular network is not going through an app. Right? Your phone doesn't get to decide if it shares its location or not. You must provide your location as a result of pairing with that tower. The whole point is there is some information, location information is a great example of it, that cannot be anonymized. in a meaningful way. And there is a ton of research about this. You only need 3 known locations of a person in order to de-anonymize their identity in an anonymous location database. This has been demonstrated by the New York Times that tracked, Secret Service agents working for Donald Trump's security detail. It's been done by private security researchers. It can be done by you in your own research. Think about it. If you know someone gave a talk at this time, at this date, they were at this conference, and then they were at another conference in another city at another time, they work at this university, right? And maybe you have something like they were at this restaurant, or they live at this location, or anything like that. These are points that are going to be unique to that person very quickly. Human movements cannot be anonymized.